Truckers, what you don't know can get you canceled. That's what we're talking about today in this urgent update. Today, we're diving into the dark side of freight guard reports and Carrier 411, where a single false claim or unchecked allegation could end business for you for quite a while. Recently, a number of videos and news reports have surfaced, and along with it, a lot of opinions. I'm one with an opinion, which I'll briefly get into, but I'll also realize something so new has to be given the diligence of understanding. How do you use something you don't fully understand? And I think we have an understanding issue. So we'll get into that tonight. From issues with vetting systems to the power these platforms hold over truckers' livelihoods, we're uncovering it all. Don't let your business be next. Find out how knowledge is power in today's trucking world and how to protect yourself before it's too late. The latest on trucking news, an article from Overdrive, and the Frontline's passion for making trucking great again. Coming up on Trucking Frontlines. Howdy ho, my friends. Greetings to you, truckers. We are broadcasting from inside the Truckin' City mobile studios, currently located somewhere in the middle of the Midwest. Having more fun than any news show host is allowed to have on YouTube. Boss Man here, single-handedly pointing out, yes, there is a way to make trucking great again. Doing so with a communication skill granted by God himself to restore your faith in broadcast talent. Learning is what we do. And tonight's show is set to a slightly different drum due to the incredible amount of stuff circulating on social media about what I opened the show on. I thought it appropriate to have a show dedicated to clearing the myth from the fiction. So tonight we're going to take a good look at what is behind all the recent press, good, bad, and around that, the possibility of getting canceled. So let me ask you, do you think as a trucker, it can happen to you? Or maybe someone you know? Let's take it to the front lines.
We begin.
From Truckin' City Central Command, you are on the front lines. Trucking news.
The semi-truck driver experienced a copy that deadly crash on Highway 285 this week, now under arrest.
Cutting edge opinion. And we will make trucking great again. Built for truckers.
You should be hauling that freight based on what works for you.
By truckers.
Remember, get them done.
Featuring.
I think trucking is a very good career.
And I am gonna beat them.
I'm gonna beat him too.
We don't do it just for us and our families. We do it for you guys.
Remember, truckers are people too.
Hosted by the El Rushbo of Trucking News, Boss Man.
Hey, Steve, I don't mean to interrupt, but you're on mute right now.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. I'm going along, lickety split. I'm learning StreamYard or Stream Deck rather. So thank you for doing that, John. Nuances. Who'd have thought that? Guys, I'll just shortcut it. I'll tell you. You know what? If you want to call the show, call it 860-785-3547. We are back behind the golden TIB microphone. That stands for Truth in Broadcasting. We are running what I call the best call-in show for truckers. It is a show made by truckers for truckers. And tonight, we talk about power. The power of 411. The power of misunderstanding. A lot of us have heard all the press, and a lot of us have gotten a lot of social media run by us. And I thought it clearly necessary with all the stuff in social media to clear the air and really talk about what's behind the latest changes to Freight Guard and ways in which the brokers use that tool. And furthermore, what it means for all of us in the industry. You've got owner operators, you've got truckers that work for carriers, you've got carriers that call brokers, and you've got brokers that rely on Freight Guard and their own systems. In all of that, there's a lot of discussion, and I will admit, I have been guilty of being involved in discussions I don't understand. So I've dived in, I've done a little bit, and I've talked with a few people. I would like to hear from you in the audience. If you've had an experience with Carrier 411, Freight Guard, or know something that you think is crucial to other people, by all means, put it in the comments. Let us know. Tell us your experiences. Tell us what you know and think. Let's be a platform for everyone to learn from. Let's help others make trucking great again. I don't do this alone. I have an astounding panel of people I'm going to introduce. We may have a special guest this evening. I'm not sure if they're going to have time available to show up. So hang tight to see if that happens. But first, let me ask a question. When you scan your news feeds, do you pay attention to headlines? I do. And I've got two I pulled out that I thought would be interesting to at least mention, bring to your attention. If you haven't seen them, take a moment, read them, take note of what's going on. One talks about a former trucker that's helping to extend life expectancy for truckers on the road. This guy takes health seriously. It's an article featured in News Nation. It reports on a fellow named Michael Lombard. His mission is to help his colleagues and others, like he calls a brother, with better health. He's quoted as saying, the job of a truck driver removes approximately 16 years off their life. So the average life expectancy is way too low, and it's only a measly 61 years of age. The story tells of his mission to change that and do so in a positive way. The link will be in the description of this live. I implore you to take a minute and read it. And yes, folks, it's that time of year again. We are talking about the Christmas tree being cut down, prepared, and ready for shipment. There's an article in CDL Life which features a selected company featuring a driver having over 10 million safe miles, having been handpicked to transport said tree to the U.S. Capitol via a journey all the way from Alaska. An Alaska-based company has been chosen to help deliver this year's U.S. Capitol Christmas tree. The tree's journey will begin in Wrangell, Alaska, and from there, a driver from Linden Trucking will transport the tree over 4,000 miles from Seattle to Washington, stopping at very many locations along the way. If you want to know about these locations and about this journey, look at the links from CDL Life, also in the description of this live. It's just hard to wrap my head around. It's getting that time of year already. Guys, let's get to the panel. Let's introduce the guys on the panel and get to today's show. So let's have at it. John, is Christmas coming too fast or what? I mean, good Lord. It just seemed like it was yesterday we were Memorial Day.
Yeah, yeah. Every year, it seems like it sneaks up on me every year. As you get older, it goes faster and faster too. It's weird.
I hear you there. I hear you. So what about Thumper and Bo? You guys are up in that neck of the woods. You're probably seeing some white Christmas material up there. What do you think? Too
Yeah,
soon?
we've had no, we've had a couple of snowstorms already, and I mean it's just that time of year. I mean, time
Yeah,
flies when you're having fun.
I hear you. I hear
So
you.
I mean, yeah, it's just that time of year. All the snow's actually melted and everything else. So
Yeah,
you
it
know,
comes
I
and
mean,
it goes, but you
yeah,
know.
we're surviving up here. The nights are getting colder, and longer. The days are getting shorter. So
Yeah.
you know, it's just
Mhm.
the way of living up north.
Yep.
And you got
What
Larry
about you,
shaking his
Grumpy?
head over there.
What about you? What about you, Grumpy? You think it's too soon, or are you going to take the grumpy position on this?
I just had my birthday last month. What the heck?
Yeah, right. Oh, that's right. You happen to
And
be
now
a
it's getting ready to
Wednesday.
be Christmas?
Yeah, yeah. Grumpy's birthday
Uh-uh.
right in front of Christmas. Good Lord. I asked this. Shouldn't we get through Thanksgiving first? You notice how everybody's putting up Black Friday sales now? It's like, good Lord, get through one first, then go to the other. I don't know. You looking at Black Friday sales, Larry? He's like, hell no. I could see him. Your audio's not working.
Can we get through Halloween first?
There you go.
There
Yeah,
he is.
I totally forgot about Halloween. I'm thinking Thanksgiving. I'm not even worried about it. But
Hello.
yeah, they're doing this thing. What's that? Yeah, Halloween mask. There you go. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, I don't know. So yeah. Anyway, so let's get on to today's feature story, shall we? I think we need some learning to do. What do you guys think?
Always up to learn something.
Oh yes. All right, guys. When it comes down to freight guard, I need to give you guys a little side of this. All right, we're going to debate several questions on this, but today we're talking about something that's hitting our industry like a sledgehammer. It's called the unchecked power of carrier vetting platforms, like Carrier 411. You've been around, you've seen all the videos, you've seen all the news articles, you've heard a multitude of opinions out there. I know I have. So, you know me, okay? I'm all for fairness, I'm all for accountability. But these platforms, are they really doing what they're supposed to, or are they playing judge, jury, and executioner with our businesses? And I'm talking from the standpoint of sitting in this chair. Let me be clear. One false, and this is definitely confirmed, one false freight guard report can bury you. Okay? If you're a carrier and you get one false report and you don't realize it's there, okay, due to recent updates, that will pose a problem. And the only way to get rid of it is through legal action. This much I've confirmed. No recourse, no rebuttal, just as the graphic you're watching says. I think no fairness. These platforms claim to weed out fraud, but what I think they're really doing is choking our independent truckers while they're giving the large brokers all the control. Now, it's fine if it serves a purpose, okay? The OOIDA, hearing from countless truckers facing false accusations daily with no way to correct the record or even respond, says that's not justice. That's job destruction. And it doesn't end there. I mean, identity theft is rampant, folks. I mean, all you've got to do, I've heard people talk about getting a hold of somebody's numbers or information and use it to steal loads. You get that hanging around and get Freight Guard involved, and you play an act of Congress trying to clear that up, even if you didn't touch the load. Imagine someone booking loads in your name, tanking your reputation, and then forcing you into a costly legal battle. It's happened. Now, who pays for that? You do. While these platforms sit back, profit, pass the buck, we're sitting here dealing with the aftermath. Look, I get it. We got to put in safeguards. Fraud is a big deal, okay? I think we need to put some checks in, and I think we need to carefully make these changes, because if they're not monitored and handled correctly, like the OOID says, it can be job destruction. We need a system where carriers can respond and defend their hard-earned reputations. And currently, it doesn't appear to me that that exists. I may be corrected, and if you in the audience have a means to show me how I'm wrong, please do. I welcome that kind of dissent on this show. I want this show to be a product of learning, and I want you guys to be the bearer of the benefit of that learning. So trucking isn't a crime, and carriers aren't disposable. So knowing where you stand and knowing what your rights are, that's where the power is. And together, we can take back control, and we can make this industry what it needs to be. Ergo, my saying, make trucking great again. I'm going to bring the guests back on, but before either one of you say a word, I want you guys to bear in mind one thing. I'm about to run through some facts that were listed in the very same article I have linked below. I want you guys to hear me out on this. Okay, some key facts about FreightGuard need to be considered here. All right, there was an update that soon came to FreightGuard policies. You're probably all familiar with it. And this update sought to shut down a cottage industry of people selling FreightGuard removal services with a significant change. That's now a little bit more difficult because of that 72-hour window. Okay, making changes to FreightGuard reports now after 72 hours requires a lot of legal battling. What effect this has had has been widely reported and probably widely misunderstood. That's one thing I want to cover tonight. Carrier 411, as any carrier who has tried to interact with the service, they won't talk to you as a carrier, okay? Because Carrier 411 serves the brokers. They won't even interact with you. So it's not for carriers, and they won't even talk to you. In fact, it's been widely publicized. Most people that work in Carrier 411 have blocked carriers' access to their services. Your phone number won't even show up on their caller ID. Okay, the chief carrier complaint against them remains that a brokerage with any say, 3 months into business, and a $99 a month subscription to Carrier 411 can, rightly or wrongly, tank a motor carrier with decades in business by just sheer word of mouth and hearsay. Furthermore, the power to negotiate FreightGuard to financially ruin one's business over unverified claims has resulted in a lot of people losing business and having to fork over a lot of money to involve themselves in legal battles. So tell me in the comments, in the audience, if you've got something to add, if you've got an experience you want to share, let us know. Call our studio 860-785-3547 or email the show. Either way. John, what say you on everything I've reported so far? How do you feel about this?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about this. I'm learning about it now, actually. But I will say, I think it was created, like a lot of things, you created for the right reason, to get rid of fraud, get rid of bad things. But the problem is, not everybody's a good person. So the system can be misused, and people can be wrongfully accused. And I heard something today about something, I think we'll probably get into a 72-hour appeal thing. If you don't appeal in 72 hours, you're done. That's just absolutely crazy.
Part of what I know, and anybody in the panel or in the audience can correct me if I misspoke, but part of what I know is the Carrier 411 and FreightGuard are separate entities. They're both designed to have the same purpose, but they work independently of each other. Now, as you said a minute ago, John, they're both designed with the purpose of eliminating fraud and keeping people honest. I get that, and I understand that. The problem is, over time, one was created before the other. People have learned how to game the system. Now, that being said, those loopholes and those gaming tactics that they're being used, I'm thinking, and I may be wrong, is what has propelled Mr. Brewer, the CEO of FreightGuard, to initiate that 72-hour window. He did this, I looked at the article, he did this without any forethought, without any announcement. He didn't even publicly announce it to anyone. Everybody figured it out on their own. And a lot of lawyers started blowing up his phone. So a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people disagree with it. But he felt like it was necessary. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But look at the huge list of problems that have come up as a result of his decision to do that. And I think that's where 90% of the negative press is coming from. Does anybody disagree with that?
No, I mean,
I
already talked. So
yeah. I mean, Thumper, what do you think? I mean, you might not know a whole lot about it because of, what you're in, but if look at it this way, if using what I reported a minute ago, a broker new in the business, all right, there's a video circulating around. I'm not publicizing it, but if you want to know about it, go to Mother Truckers official, Alex Mize, he's got an interview he conducted on his channel. I implore you to look at, okay, because he talks to one specific person that references this whole Carrier 401 problem I'm talking about. And what he said was that a broker with literally very little experience, new guy on the block, you can say the wrong thing on a phone conversation to him. And then instantly, without even batting an eye, that guy can, without hesitation, put in a FreightGuard report on you, and you're stuck trying to defend yourself on something very simple. Think about that. If someone did that to you, Thumper, what would you think? I mean, that would be crazy.
Oh, I'd be pissed off.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot of people out there that probably have been hit that negatively. Just looking at,
I don't think it's fair. I mean, everybody has disagreements on everything. We're human.
Right.
That's life. And then for them to be mad at you and practically ruin your company.
Yeah.
That's not fair. It really isn't.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
just scanning the comments, good people in the audience. I want to, recognize those in the audience because I don't like ignoring everybody. So Shanann Thomas Trucking, God bless you. Thank you for joining our show tonight. I appreciate you stopping by. Let me see. Cheap Freight Hauler in the house. Good evening, my friend. Glad you stopped by as well. Yeah, I just want to recognize some people. I mean, again, guys, if you're in the audience and you've had anything, good, bad, or otherwise, please let us know. And I mean, because honestly, I scan these news feeds a lot, and the other thing I look at too is, other social media accounts, Instagram, TikTok, and the amount of press people, I mean, on their own, trucking channels putting out their bad experiences with FreightGuard, not understanding it, not knowing how Carrier 401 is even utilized. It really boggles me because it's abundantly obvious it's new to a lot of people, especially independent truckers trying to get their own authority and trying to get their own contracts. If you don't understand that stuff, you're left. I mean, you are left with something with, it's a mystery. You don't know enough. You can't. I mean, I wish I could be more help, other than just this news report I'm talking about. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say, I got two things real quick.
Go ahead.
Since the brokers have something called 411, the FreightGuard thing, do we have something that we can report brokers that are fraudulent? Because that's a problem too. And then also I was reading up on this because I knew we were going to be talking about it. And again, I don't know that much about it. Somebody just said it down in the comments, actually. It kind of stole my thunder there. That you can get a FreightGuard report on you because you request for detention too many times. I think Jay's World said that. Like I was actually just gonna bring that up. I think that's crazy. Like, you know, if you feel you've been there too long and it meets the criteria that the brokers have given you and you request it, how can they give you a rate guard report for that? That's just absurd.
If that's in fact what's happening, I agree with you. It's ridiculous. But Jay's World, let me clear up something, okay? I'm actually going to give you a little bit more detail than just telling you to check out Mother Trucker's video. I'm actually, based on memory, I'm going to give you what I know to be true. The freight broker or the freight carrier that Mother Trucker was talking to had been in business for 10 years. He got a freight guard report turned in on him for a simple misunderstanding. He was trying to negotiate a load and get a load tendered to him. And what wound up happening is, because the load broker wasn't cooperating with him, he made the following statement. Well, look, if we can't come to an agreement on the following, I'd be happy to come down to your office and straighten this out. Now, that broker heard that and took it as a threat. He thought that what the man was saying was, I'm going to come down and kick your butt. But that's not what was meant. He clearly said it in a way that should have been interpreted as, we can come to an understanding. But the problem was, on the phone, the guy kept hanging up on him. So he felt by saying that, he could get past that roadblock of getting hung up on. But in also saying that, the man turned, a new broker, new in the business, turned in a freight guard, alleging that he threatened him. And it cost him his business because he spent a long time fighting that and getting that correctly. So a simple thing like that is what I fear the most, because, I mean, I'm a driver, I work for a carrier, but that could very easily happen to the carrier I work for. It could easily happen to the carrier you guys work for. You know, something simple could be taken out of context, and next thing you know, you're blacklisted. Cheap Freight Hauler says, bet a lot of brokerages are going to restrict who's allowed to leave comments on the reviews. Yeah, that I know what you're talking about. Instead of the everyday agent being allowed to access it, it'll probably be limited to someone from he goes on to legal team. Yeah, okay. Griff's in the house making his business. Said that the brokers are holding all the cards. It seems you do what I want or I'll report you. I kind of agree with you, but I have to wonder. I mean, is that truly what we're looking at here? I mean, if of all the people watching, and we've got quite a few, we're in double digits now. Thank you for watching. Go down, hit the like button. I'd be grateful to you. If you've experienced something like that, let me know. I want to hear your story. Go ahead. Fate, were you going to say something? I heard you in the background.
Well, just what you were explaining a couple minutes ago about, it sounds like this carrier called the broker back multiple times after the broker hung up on him.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't understand why you would do that. Like, if a broker hangs up on you, that broker ain't worth your time calling back. Like, in my experience, if a broker hangs up on me, I will not call them again.
Okay, now,
I'm not defending the broker here. Okay,
no, and I know you're not
wrong.
I know you're not. But here's my question to you, Fate, and this is part of, I think, what Jay's World was bringing up. One of the issues, and again, I don't know the details, I'm just assuming here, but I think one of the issues that demanded the repeat phone calls was over a detention issue from a load already tendered. So now what would you do if, in using your analogy you just brought up a minute ago, Fate, what would you do if you're trying to negotiate what you feel is fair, whether it be a difference in rate or time, and you can't come to an agreement and you feel shortchanged? What then?
So it lays out pretty clearly the detention policies, not only in the carrier packet, but also on the Raycon.
Right.
So I follow what the Raycon says, and I do what the Raycon says. Now, does that mean every time that the broker follows the guidelines of their own Raycon? No. And sometimes you have to eat the detention. Like, it's $200 worth what we're talking about right now. Like, it's
not worth the
$200. Right. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Like, now
I
know with my experience, what I do is the times are on the BOL. Hopefully the shipper and or receiver will write it on there for me, sign it. I notify the broker. I check up with the broker after the load is done. If I don't hear from them for 3-4 days, I'll email them again. Hey, what about detention on this load? Is it, am I getting it? Was it approved? And you got to play that game. But there also comes a time where you have to cut your losses. Otherwise, otherwise, according to what that gentleman said in the comments, this can happen to you. And I'm not saying it's right, but cutting your losses is a lot better than getting a freight guard claim or a carrier 411 claim on you. In my mind.
Yeah. Before I move on to my next point, I just like to make the observation, obviously, before you go anywhere, Fate, because this is addressed to you. Documentation's king. Okay, everything you do, you document it with times, locations, changes, anything. Always document it. And the one thing I learned with my limited time at Landstar was every broker's different. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with this. Okay, if you run into a situation with a broker, even though that broker holds the cards as they do, like Fate pointed out a minute ago, you have to refer to the tender and you have to refer to the contract. Always refer to those. You have to go those first above all else. However, that being said, to his example a minute ago, if you don't get the result you want, that's the last time you call them. That was my attitude. That's the way I ran it. Thumper, I think you've said in the past, you fool me once, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So that's been my rule. I don't know. You can agree or disagree all you want, Fate, but I think that's an adequate way to wrap up that point.
Oh, I couldn't agree more with you.
Okay, good. Shannon. Okay. Shannon Thomas leaves a comment, says, I keep a select group of brokers I work with primarily and build great relationships with them over a few years now. With good communication on my loads, so we're all on the same page. Good to know. And that's really important. I mean, the better your relationship with the broker is, the less the possibility of a freight guard problem creeping up in the relationship anyway. Jay's World comes back with, seriously, a broker threatened. Go ahead. A broker threatened me for a load I booked 30,000 pounds, rate con of 42,000 pounds, just shipper to a load. Okay, so there was a load weight discrepancy. 2 days later, received email from carrier 411 for freight guard. That's interesting. All over a difference in the total weight. Jay's World, if you want, either click the StreamYard link or call our studio line. I'd be interested in that story because it sounds to me like, and I may be wrong. Were you trying to up the rate because of the increased weight, or was there something else going on? I'd like to know more about that. Cheap Freight Hauler calls in and says a brokerage over the year that went to do the same. Hold on, because I'm going to put up my phone number on the banner below. So yeah, if you want to call in, please do. Brokerage over the last year that want to do the right thing. They cannot hold every employee's hand every minute of the day, but are pleasant to talk to when there's a problem with one of their employees. Good to know. All right. So yeah, I mean, every broker's different. So bottom line is, I mean, you kind of almost have to politic with them. I know that's kind of a cheap word. I don't mean to degrade, the industry by the use of the word politicking, but I mean, think about it. The vetting systems set up the way they are today. All right. In you guys' opinions, do you think they're more harmful or do you think they're more helpful? I mean, on what side of the spectrum would you guys tend to lean on, knowing what we know about it? I mean, because, I mean, really, if you question anybody and try to impart your knowledge, maybe you could look at it as schooling somebody or correcting a wrong, you really run the risk of sullying your reputation, all because of vetting programs and apps that nowadays are in place that never used to be. So, I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, it's really a whole new dynamic now. It really is. I mean, something as simple as freight guard, and all of a sudden, okay, I can't do business now. personally, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, to the point John made a minute ago, there should be, and I know there is stuff out there in development. There should be a way to counter that. Okay. I know there's a legal team out there that has something they're considering called similarly Broker 411. It's where carriers can assemble similar information on brokers and basically attempt to do the same thing. I don't know how developed it is. I don't know how ready it is or how mainstream it is because I've never, really been on that side of the business. In the comments, please tell me. I'd be interested to know. But that's a consideration. There is a law firm out there that's considering such an app or such a service. If they haven't already started it, I think. So that's something to consider. I mean, right now, all of the power seems to lie in the hands of those with the freight. People like you and me, we have little power. We can work our asses off, be 10 years, 20 years into business, and all it takes is one report. And we're all the way back to square one. That's kind of dangerous when you think about it. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've put already 13 years into this business. And if I were a carrier, and if I had depended on this reputation that I have already built, I would be damn upset. And I do mean damn upset if all of a sudden that changed, and because of something I had no control over. Missed the first part of a comment. Oh, maybe I did. Okay. Well, let me go back and clarify it then, Chief Rayhole. I don't like doing you wrong. If I can't get the agent to issue a new rate con with detention, that's spelled out in the original rate con, then I go over the agent's head. I've talked to several presidents and VPs of large brokerages, over the year that I want to do the right thing. They cannot hold every. Okay, so now I get what you're saying. Makes total sense. Sorry about that. I'm scanning comments, so I'm trying to fit everybody in and not miss a trick. And I wound up missing a trick. Go figure. Bad broadcaster. Anyway, so
I think Grumpy had something to add. He held his hand up a couple times.
Yeah. Go ahead, Grumpy.
Well, this kind of pertains a little bit of what we're talking about here. The company I currently work for, I sat at a shipper for like close to 7 hours, and then I went, weighed the load, came back, had them basically rework it because it was overweight, not by gross, but over on my drives. And then I wound up being late for the first stop. Wasn't my fault. And then that caused me to be late for the second stop. Wasn't my fault. So I had to lay over there too. So my company is like, well, they're not going to pay you both layover and detention. You have to take a choice. So I just looked at my fleet manager and I says, hey, you figure out which one's going to pay me the best and give that to me. And she says, okay.
I feel your pain, and I almost kind of see where your carrier's coming from. I mean, yeah, you bill and you charge for the source, which is the original detention. All right. At that point, it becomes your carrier's problem to do the rescheduling to modify so you're not late on the second appointment. So, yeah, what they not being able to charge layover on that, I totally agree with that, and I see their point. But
well, it's just they told me I had to make a choice, which if they can give me the layover, I would probably make a little bit more than I would off the detention, to be honest with you.
Right. Which makes total sense. I mean, it's not really a choice of what you make more in. It's what impacts the carrier the worst. I think that's where most should draw the line. Because if it impacts their ability to get the next load, they can't change the current rate con. But if they're entitled to $50 an hour for detention, they should be enabled to charge that. Where some guys may just overlook it because it's not a big deal. Or they might have that hour free policy or whatever. I'm spitballing random stuff. But carriers will enforce things when it meets the necessity of the situation. I think sometimes they'll overlook things if it doesn't really negatively affect them. So I don't know. It's kind of come and go. Because I've had it happen both ways. But I've never been given the choice. It's one or the other.
Well, and with that being said, too, me being the driver, that caused me to be sitting on load for another extra day, because the first drop was supposed to be the same day, and the next drop would have been the next day. Then I would have been given another load, and I could have been running some more. But I wound up sitting on this load for 3 days, basically. So that just messed my whole week up.
Yep. Well, I think Jay's World cleared up what we were talking about a minute ago. Yeah, we asked for more rate. Yeah. Just the fact, I think, going back to your comment a minute ago, I'm wondering if that was mentioned that you had originally, I'm trying to find your comment, signed the original Raycon before all that mess went on. That may be part of the problem. No, that's his. I mean, yeah, because if you sign a Raycon and you agree, and it's, I don't know, you can kind of go on the technicality that the Raycon is invalid. I've heard people use that terminology before. If, for example, you get a Raycon that charges you hypothetically $1,500 for a load, supposedly with 20,000 pounds of cargo, and then you get there and find out it's 40,000. I mean, those with these relationship and the experience, chime in and tell me, are you legally allowed to change the Raycon based on double weight? Fate, you may be more familiar with that. I get Larry shaking his head no. What do you think about that?
Go ahead, Larry.
I would say no, because you already signed the Raycon for what weight it was originally.
Right.
But I don't deal with brokers like that directly, so.
Right.
You are not legally allowed. You are not legally allowed to change anything on the Raycon once you sign it.
No, not change it. But if by that not being there, let's say they had the Raycon at 20,000.
He's every right.
Yeah, I just wanted to clear this up so you don't misunderstand me. I'm spitballing this idea on the benefit of Jay's World, because he mentioned in his comment the difference in weight. So my thought is either change it, which you said we can't do, or reject it and refuse the load.
That you have every right to do. You might never work with that broker again, but and you have every right to say, hey, I need X amount, a reasonable amount, for the extra weight, because that is 20,000 pounds or 10,000 pounds is a lot. I mean, that does increase your cost to haul that load. You just have to be careful, man. I mean, you do. You can't threaten. Threatening is not business.
That's what got that one fellow on Mother Trucker's video in trouble, and that's why he got the freight guard, because that's what it sounded to the broker like he was doing. He wasn't, but to your point, no, never threaten anybody, because that's never going to get you anywhere. Midlife chimes in from the background and says, "Remember, the customer is always right."
Can I say one more thing?
Go ahead, Faye. Go ahead.
It is important every time you check into a facility, even though you have a Raycon, the broker has told you what the load is. The reality is, we're working with a lot of agents that work for the broker. So the agent might not know everything about the load. They're just going off of their notes that are in the computer. So every time you go check in at a receiver, ask them, hey, do you have a tear weight? Do you have a pallet count? Know everything before something gets put on your truck. And part of that is talking to a shipper. You know what I mean? Like, hey, what is the commodity? What's the weight? How many pallets?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. That goes a long way to helping you out. Go ahead, Thumper. You've been waiting patiently.
Yeah. Well, actually, a couple of things. One of them is way off topic. Why do they call it detention pay? Or detention? Because when you're in school, detention was a bad thing. Just random.
I think it's based off the caned theory, but that's just my thing.
just
But
trying
that's a
to,
pretty good analogy, though. Yeah.
yeah, just trying to, make a laugh. But all right, and then the other,
Or like in my Northeastern school, it used to be ISS. You got to go to ISS, man. You're bad. In school
Yeah.
suspension.
But
Anyway.
the other thing is like, if you reject a load that's gonna go against you, we kind of have our arm behind our backs and they're twisting it. If we say no, it's bad, and if we do take it, we're getting kind of screwed on the other end because it's not good enough for us to actually make us go down the road. I mean, there's so many factors on it where we don't have the edge in our favor. It's just we're their little monkeys, and we got to do what they want us to, and they haven't figured out how to turn it against the truckers to make us look bad.
Yeah. Maybe you guys can opine on this. Cheap Freight Hauler's comment says, also carriers need to learn to pull off a load if the shipper is putting delivery appointments at risk. All right.
He's absolutely right.
Yes.
He's
Yes, I do
absolutely
agree.
right.
I was just trying to read into that comment and see if I could understand better what he was talking about. But now that I read the comment, I do get it. We got a caller, so let me get real quick to that caller. Seems like we got your buddy Griff on the line. How you doing, Griff? Thank you for calling the show tonight. Great.
I have to agree with Thumper stuff and everything. Stuff you pretty much spelled it out on how I think stuff. Right now, either you're an owner operator with your own MC or a carrier or whatever. You got kind of your hands tied behind your back stuff on some things. Yeah, you could refuse a load, but they could put a false freight guard against you, saying that you refused to take a load. We had issues one time with a broker where we hadn't got paid yet by him to get fuel, but we were pulled off a contract because we supposedly refused the loads. But that's a whole other story unto itself. But I'm just using that as an example.
Well, it's a good example. Yeah. I mean, part of the whole thing that I'm bringing up tonight, I want to bring up while you're mentioning that. I mean, it's just the dynamic of the power now in the hands of brokers that we as carriers or owner operators now we're fighting. I mean, in your eyes, Griff, this is to you. In your eyes, what do you think would be necessary to kind of equalize that out? I mean, yeah, I sometimes see it necessary to put a freight guard or a freight guard report against a carrier if they are in fact fraudulent. I see the need there. Okay, but when we're talking about the stuff that we're talking about here on this show, we're not talking about fraud. We're not talking, it's just basic misunderstandings. Okay, so
sorry.
Well, I mean, I was just going to close the question out with, where can we equalize that playing field and not make it so that they hold all the cards? We actually have tools to use too. What are your thoughts about that, Griff?
Well, since the CEO of FreightGuard wants to implement this deal with 72 hours, if a brokerage puts a complaint against you, you need to know, like ASAP, either get a phone call from them or whatever, find out what's going on so you can get it resolved. If you don't get it resolved in 72 hours, it's permanently against you. You cannot have it taken off like you could in the past, from what I understood.
Or how about this? I agree. I agree with what you're saying. Good point, dude. I love it. Let's look at this and analyze it from the perspective of credit reports. You just brought that up. Credit reports currently have it so that if you dispute an item on your credit report and you put in that formal dispute, whether it's through Experian, TransUnion, any of them, major clearinghouses, if the original creditor, does not respond within 30 days, that item is then removed from your credit report. So what if that same policy were put in on FreightGuard? They want to hold the 72-hour thing. I say, okay, put in a formal dispute. If it's not resolved or responded to in 30 days or whatever time frame is necessary, bye-bye. That puts
that could work.
that puts the hands of, it's being disputed, even if it is at a later time frame.
Well, we should be able to. The carriers and drivers should be able to. Sometimes it'd be fraudulent though too. It goes both ways, but we should be able to have an opportunity to make a complaint against either a broker or a brokerage, that shortchanged you or haven't paid you yet. Stuff is
right. Because one of the things,
there's a brokerage I've worked with. I still haven't even got paid on a 4 or 5 loads stuff that I pulled stuff, and it's been 5 months, and it's like pulling teeth, and
yeah,
I don't think I'll ever see it, but
right.
It would be nice to be able to make a complaint against them, but
yeah, think about this, and I'll leave this with you, and let everybody in the audience chomp on it for a minute. This whole idea of credit report and policy similarities, I think it has some meat to it. Because let's look at it this way. All right. First of all, with the new policies, the amount of fraudulent carriers and or fraudulent brokers may change. Okay. One of the things brokers have in their back pocket is when they list these reports and when they look you up. Okay. As carriers, we're notified about freight guard reports through, and I looked this up, the email on file at the FMCSA. Now, my question to that is now, if they file a freight guard and they go through the formal process, because they have to notify you when a freight guard is initiated, and they do so by giving the notice via email listed at the FMCSA, how many people update their records with the FMCSA every single day or every single change?
You're supposed to do it every year.
Yeah, but if you're a fraudulent carrier, this is my argument. If you're a fraudulent carrier, you're probably not even thinking of that. If you're playing crap games with people trying to skim money, that's the last thing you're thinking of. So that's probably the edge that these brokers are looking for, because they know these people aren't tracking that kind of stuff. They're hoping they don't. Therefore, they get to, lack of a better word, they're hoping to get shit canned out of the system. So I see that. But more to the point we're making about the credit reports, same thing should be. I mean, yeah, I see the sense in using the FMCSA email list. That's great. But how many people, if you're on the road and if you're an owner and a carrier, you're out running, what are the chances you're going to miss that email if it comes in? I think there is a large discrepancy right there. You could possibly miss that window, 72 hours. So my thought is, if that happens, how about having a method or a procedure for dealing with that? And I think that policy I mentioned a minute ago, similar to the credit report, would help the carrier. We've already got a situation where the brokers have the power. I'm just looking for a way to give us some of that too, because we need it. Face it, we got enough against us already. Y'all disagree with me? Tell me why. Griff, you first. You're on the phone.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
okay.
It's a good idea, stuff. I really, if they want to do freight guard and carrier 411 like a credit report, we should be able to have the opportunity to put a dispute against it.
Yep.
Because somebody could have had your take your MC be using it stuff without your knowledge and stuff, and you can have a claim against you. Or heck, a carrier I pulled for once, there had a insurance claim against them, but for a rejected load, but the load was received.
Right.
They still took the load. So it's like, the only way we found out about it was just through an email, and that's all I know about that, and for all the information. But still, it's just the fact that the driver got there, delivered it, they took it. It wasn't not that they rejected it and left it on
Yeah.
the trailer. They took it stuff, but then they filed a claim for rejected load against it.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Kind of a damned if
So-
you did and damned if you didn't situation.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the whole stories behind that,
Right.
but it's just that's kind of a good example for fraudulent stuff in terms of maybe on the either the receiver or even the brokerage side, where they're trying to say that you didn't ever really deliver it, even though they got all the paperwork and they received it and all this other stuff, but they still try to make a claim against you.
Right, yeah. That's wrong.
Everything,
Thumper, did you
so-
got something you want to add before I hang up with Griff?
Well, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, go ahead.
That would be a good topic too, and maybe the audience would chime in or something. Maybe that's something we need to cover is the MC and DOT fraudulent, because our DOT numbers and our MC numbers are plastered all over our truck going down the road. What can we do
Right.
to prevent that? You know, I know where he's coming from because I've been down that road a couple times already, like especially
relevant.
just
That'd be relevant.
recently. Yeah,
Okay.
just recently I was going through emails and there was a load that was delivered, kind of the same situation he was, and it was a dry van. We have nothing to do with dry van.
Right.
You know, we do cattle and
Hey.
grain. It's like, well, what the heck?
Stay on that point. Stay on that point just a minute, Thumper. Cheap freight hauler adds in something like broker form will never work. We already have things like social media to warn other bad brokers. Look at me posts you see on Facebook groups about 3-letter brokers in Cincinnati and Chicago. You forgot one city. In the Chicago area or the Cincinnati area, but carriers still pull from them daily. Years ago, carriers would use a burner phone and secondary email for FMCSA because the FMCSA will not call or email you. But that's public record, and that's where the dispatch companies get your information from.
Well, since Chief Freight Hauler brought that up there, boss man.
Yeah, yes, he did. Yeah.
I've seen the video on the Mother Trucker show,
Right.
but I think he was or somebody was going on. What they got reported freight guard and majority of the reputable brokerages wouldn't use them, and the only brokerage he was able to book any loads with was TQL, because TQL is one of the few that, even with the new MC,
TQL does not use carrier 411. They won't use them.
Yeah, well, but all I'm saying though is they will work with the new brokerage or whatever. You know, they have their issues and stuff and everything, but they at least will work with you stuff and without having you got to be active for 3 months or a year or whatever. But I understand the policies on there's those other policies,
right?
Stuff and everything. But if you got a freight card against you, the only place you can go stuff for the most part would be TQL, because
you're very limited. You're very
you can't get the freight card off your report.
Yep. Well, you can. I think, and I just recently learned this, I think you can get a note added to it, but how many brokers are really going to pay attention to that note? If it's there, they're just going to be like, heck with it. I'm not going to bother looking at it. Yeah, so somebody told me that they can put a note on it, whether that's going to be something they pay attention to or not, I don't know. But yeah, what you said, Griff, makes sense. Once you've got it on you, it's next to an act of Congress even to work with anybody other than TQL, which I think is a damn shame. But more to the point that Cheap Freight Hauler was making, I understand there are things in development. I'm gonna when I get done with this show, I'm actually gonna do a little bit more diving into researching for your benefit, because I do know there's a legal team out there that's trying to develop something that puts carriers in a better stance with these brokerage houses and might actually help equal the playing field. I don't know yet what it's called. I know it's there. I'm going to try to figure it out and bring it on with my next show. No promises, but I'm now curious, because this being everything it is, I want to make sure that, whatever we do and whatever we learn it helps us because you know what? Brokers can have all the power they want. They can talk all the crap they want about they hold the cards. But what good is having a brokerage house with thousands of loads if you don't have a truck to haul it? I've always said it, without trucks, the world stops. Go ahead, John.
I just wanted to apologize. My daughter was in an accident, so I had to jump out and make sure everything was okay before I came back. So,
No,
but
you're good, man. Is she okay?
I think, yeah, she's fine. Her car is not in good shape at all.
Sorry.
But I think we should start a 411 or a whatever for brokers, where carriers can also have the same thing for brokers. It'll balance it because there are a lot of fraudulent brokers out there.
You saw the comment.
There was comment that?
Well, no.
No, I didn't.
I was opining on that because of his comment. Something like Broker 411, Cheap Rate Hauler says will never work. We already have things on social media like Facebook and stuff like that. But his opinion, it would never work. And he goes on to cite why. You know, with all these Facebook groups and these different letter codes that are being advertised, he goes on to say years ago, carriers would use a burner phone, secondary email. I don't think that's possible today. But to the point that he makes, you know, the whole dynamic of what brokers are doing to us now would almost kind of be redundant, don't you think? If brokers are blacklisting carriers,
I know, but
and carriers are blacklisting brokers, where does it stop? You know?
No, I 100% agree. I'm just I don't know. I was thinking about it, and that was what popped into my head. But honestly, they shouldn't have a system like that where there's no checks to it. You can't have a system where someone says, "Hey, this carrier is no good," and that's it. You're done. Like you need to have a redundant system behind that to make sure that you're not messing these people over. You know what I mean?
We can defend ourselves against a fraudulent claim. Because how can anyone in 72 hours determine whether it's justified or fraudulent? No one out here can. No. I don't think. So
now I don't know if this is true, but somebody told me that if a lawyer if a judge said that the claim was fraudulent or whatever, that they couldn't get that claim removed. If that is true, it's above our law, and I don't know how that's right. Is it true?
Well,
how is that right? How can something be above the law?
I think, and Mother Trucker highlighted this, currently there is a law firm out there that is fighting this. They are fighting that thing based on that very argument you just mentioned, because that does seem rather frivolous. If somebody puts in a claim, and once that freight guard's in there, after 72 hours, it can't be removed, regardless, you know, and unlike that credit report analogy I made earlier, you know, there should be a way of amending it or removing it if it's found to be unjust.
100%.
And currently there is not. There is no way. It's on, you're screwed. You're done. End of story.
I mean,
you know, I think that's
I'll be clear.
unfair.
I'll be clear. I'm just a glorified, you know, company driver, aka owner operator. But you know, there are carriers like Thumper down here, right there. You know, and there are, and I know quite a few of them myself. I mean, this could be tragic for a very good carrier that gets one broker that just trashes them, you know? No one should have that much power.
I like your comment, Cheap Rate Hauler. He says, even a snake will play with you before they strike. I like that. That's funny. It is so true, unfortunately. It is.
Wait, so is he claiming that brokers are snakes?
I guess. I'm right there with him, man. I like that. I like his analogy. Griff, you got anything to add? I'm not going to keep you on the phone all night. I appreciate you calling in, buddy.
No.
Oh, Griff's on the phone?
Yes, he is.
I just wanted to say, what's up, Bate?
That was John saying hi to you.
I just wanted to say I happen to agree with Thumper on what he said stuff, and I actually agree with your idea stuff, you know, kind of have it like a credit report stuff where you have an opportunity to actually argue it.
Yeah.
You know?
Can I say hi to Griff real quick?
Ahead, Go ahead, Fake. Go ahead. Have at it, man.
What's up, Griff? How are you? Can you hear me? All right. Good.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm just hooking up a trailer, guys. I just wanted to say hi to Griff real quick.
God bless you. Good hooking you guys up. I like doing that. That's what this show's
Hey,
all
thanks.
about. Hooking you guys up.
So,
Jay's
if
World
we have,
just left a comment I found very interesting.
Okay,
Sorry.
Jay's World is on. Griff, I'm gonna let you go, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hold you on the phone in case somebody else wants to call in.
All right,
Thank you for
not
calling.
A problem, not a problem.
You keep them
Yep,
wheels
thank you
rolling.
for having the time.
You keep them. You keep
Will
them.
do.
You keep them wheels rolling, my
Well,
friend. Be
well,
safe.
right now, I'm sitting on a load stuff for the next day or so. I'm being able to do a 34, but I can't deliver it until Monday down at around Smith.
Yeah. Likewise, my
But
friend. Whatever you do, keep her rolling, buddy.
Well,
Be safe,
you
Griff.
too. Be safe.
All right. Bless you.
Later.
All right.
Now,
Anyway, yeah.
this is something I actually do know a little bit about, and I do deal with, and that's tracking from brokers. Almost every broker now tracks you when you're doing their load. There's all these different tracking apps, and you have to download them, or you can't take the load, blah blah blah. So if you refuse tracking, they can actually give your carrier a freight guard. That is absurd.
Is that what he's saying? Is
That's
that
what he's saying.
I can't believe a carrier can
Yeah.
get freight guard refused. Maybe he missed the character.
Yo. Why is
What?
that absurd, John? Why is that absurd?
Okay, I'll tell you why that's absurd.
You have to
You're
understand.
Mr.
You have to understand most.
Let me finish my point.
Let
You
it go, Pete.
are Mr.
Give me 5
We
minutes.
should be allowed to do what we want to do, right? Well, if it's my phone and I own it, I don't think they have to require that I have software on it. Trucks
You
are
think it's the
trackable,
bro-
ELDs are trackable.
Most tracking is done through your ELD now, but you have to
Oop,
the
hang on.
customer requesting tracking most of the
Okay.
time, not the broker.
Right.
So you're right. You have a choice. Don't haul the load. Like
Right.
if you went out and got your own customer instead of
Okay,
the broker,
let me
hold on, and the customer
Hold on, John.
required
Hold
you
on, John.
to do tracking, you're gonna argue with the customer?
No, I actually
Okay.
agree with you on that. Okay. The point I was trying to, where he says refused or stopped. Okay, the refused, you're 100% correct. You shouldn't refuse it. But let's say your phone crashes and now the tracking's down. You're going to get a freight guard for that?
Yep.
They're not gonna give you a freight guard for that if your phone crashes. If
Yeah.
you can show evidence of stuff,
It says,
they're not
How-
gonna
how
give you
can
John, because we experience this every day, John. Like you're
Mhm.
talking nonsense, and this is what I'm talking about. Like this is something you deal with on a daily basis.
In a small sense, Fade,
Grumpy,
I
what
think
you
he
got?
brings up. Well, it's not even him. It's Jay's World. He brings up the point if something goes wrong. So let's go beyond whether you refuse it or stopped it. Just something goes wrong. For a broker to put in a freight guard, I believe there should be a serious breach of contract, service failure, or something serious regarding that freight movement. That's where I stand on it. Now,
I got to backtrack.
What about?
There's a
No,
lot of
what
comments popping in about this. I'm sorry. I got to backtrack on that. The tracking thing, I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
It is required. It's on the rate con. But if it's stopped for some reason, like I said, your phone crashing or, whatever, that's still up to the broker if he wants to freight guard you. That's a scary thing if you think about it. But I think Grumpy has something to say.
Yeah, let Grumpy chime in, and I'll let you take it from there, Fate. Go ahead, Grumpy.
Yeah. Even like with me, with the company I work for, I wound up picking up a few loads that they even required me as a company driver to have that app on my phone while hauling it. And one weird thing is one company contacted me when I was off duty away from the company on medical. And I'm thinking, I'm not even in a truck. I'm not assigned to it. Now that's where I call the line. So I called my company. I was like, hey, I'm not in a truck anymore right now. I'm on medical. What's the deal with this? And he's like, don't worry. Tell me what the number is. We'll have it handled and take care of it. So even with that, with being a company driver, you have that issue with them wanting to track it, which is fine. That's their stuff. You're moving for them. But, don't bug somebody if they're not the one doing it. So somebody had my number confused with somebody else.
exactly. That happens from time to time. Fate, did you want to add
So-
something to it? I got Thumper behind you.
Yeah, so that's where I agree. I agree 100% with what Grumpy said. Technically, they're not supposed to contact the driver.
Right.
Like, technically, they're not supposed to. It happens. But, like, the whole tracking thing, like, it's all about, like you said, John, about what if something happens. This is a perfect example. My truck, I was on a load. I had just left the shipper. My truck went into D-rate. I had to go. What are you pointing down at?
The comment. Chief Freight Hauler says most rate cons say tracking is required. So if you don't track it, you violated the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So,
I know. That's why I was wrong with the way I said it was wrong. I meant like if something happens,
Keep
then it
going.
stops.
Keep going, Dave. Keep going.
I immediately contact, or I need to go to. Am I there again?
Yeah,
There
yeah.
you are.
back.
There you are.
Your signal cut out for a minute, but you immediately what?
I immediately contacted the broker and said, "Hey, I have to go to the dealership. My truck's in D-rate. Here's what I can offer you: A, B, and C.
Right.
If you want something different, get back to me and I'll do it for you." You have to be proactive. Anytime
yeah.
something happens, you have to notify the broker. If you
Right.
don't notify the broker of any delays of anything, you're in violation of the contract you signed. That's
called
on you.
That's called a service failure.
Yes.
Right,
You
and
do not
I'm
want
not.
those.
And I agree with Bait. But the part about where if your tracking stops, somebody made a comment that if you're down for like 30 minutes or a couple hours, they usually give you a little bit of leeway. But that is discretionary, isn't it? Isn't that up to the broker how much discretion they want to give you? I mean, they could all of a
but
sudden
even-
say, you know what? It's been 2.5 hours, and
But even
that's
that's
too long.
contract.
You know?
But even that's a matter of contract. If they decide to be discretionary and give you leeway beyond that, that's totally up to them. You're screwed if they don't. Go ahead, Thumper.
So okay, now I'm gonna throw a little twist in everything because you're like, well, what if this quits working? What if that quits working? We just went through it. Verizon was down for 8 hours. I didn't have a phone for a whole day. I couldn't dispatch
Yep.
my trucks. I couldn't do anything like that. So we've already been through this. Just
Yep.
wanted to point that out.
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh yeah.
That
I mean,
that happened to me.
Did it really? Okay. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I know
mean,
it did because that day I
technology-
was supposed to meet up with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, technology is only as good as the infrastructure that backs it, and we all know about that, don't we? I mean, I'm going to bring up one more thing, and we can hash that out before calling it a night on this show. How can we actually get together? We've already talked about this whole broker 401 thing. How can we actually get together, not physically, but in a theoretical sense, get together and actually try to enforce the idea of equaling the playing field? Because as I started out, and as we've all talked about, trucking is a matter of contract. It's a matter of knowing what you're doing, knowing you're doing the right thing, but not every time is it black and white. Sometimes, as John pointed out a minute ago, there can be room for discrepancies. And based on that, the brokers have all the cards in that respect. So how can we best arm ourselves to make it equal so that we're not walking headfirst into a situation that comes back, bites us in the butt, and then we wind up with the short end of the stick?
Kill them with kindness.
Kill them with kindness, really? You think so? I mean, we all
Well, I
said
mean,
you got
it-
the contract. So yeah, I mean,
It is a lot, like literally that phrase. I grew up with that phrase from my grandmother.
right.
And when I actually go with it, it actually works. If you're nice to that person, even though they're being, however, complete rude to you, whatever you want to call it, and
Right.
you just sit there and be nice, it's going to piss them off. They'll just leave you alone. They have nothing
Yeah.
bad to say about you.
True that. Yeah. So what do you got for that, Fate? I mean, do you think there's anything that we can kind of really do in the theoretical sense to kind of equal the playing field?
Quit crying about the broker and go get your own customers. Eliminate the broker altogether.
Yeah.
Amen.
That's your option.
That's actually
Brokers
that's
serve a purpose.
well. I'm glad you said
I-
that because I mean, yeah, they do serve a purpose. But I actually never thought of that when I developed that question. I thought about it and I was like, that's actually not even an answer I considered. But that's a good one. I mean, yeah. I
I'll,
mean, because I was going to say, use Thumper as an example. How often, Thumper, do you actually have to rely on brokers because of your business?
In the last 5 years, twice.
Twice, yeah. So you've got
And
your business model set up. You've got your customers. You don't need brokers.
no, I
So
don't. And
yeah,
that just works for me. You know, I'm pretty sure Fate over there is the same way, but he still uses brokers to get to wherever he needs. You know,
well,
it's
customer out,
my line.
broker back. Yeah, I
My
get that.
line of work. My line of work versus your guys' line of work is like you're over here in the United States, and I'm all the way over in Russia. It's totally opposite.
Right? Yeah.
I
What
saw a
about
new
you?
perspective when I was preparing for this show. I went on
Yeah.
YouTube and Google and looked up Brake Guard, and I found a video made by a broker about Brake Guard. It kind of made me realize, you know, truckers think we're the most important part of the cog of the system, but in the video it said brokers were the most important cog of the system. And it was from a broker's perspective. It was really enlightening to me to see um, another part of our industry, which brokers are, whether we like it or not, their perspective.
If you find that
and
link,
it was funny.
if you find that link, bring that with you on the next Frontline. I would like to cover that and explore that option a little bit more in detail. Grumpy, anything
Well,
to
it was
add
about
before
Brake
we,
Guard, but
yeah. Anything you add before we end the show?
Well, you know, in this case, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, evidently this is broken and needs to be fixed.
This is true. This is very true. Thumper,
yeah.
I know you like to do this, so bring us
Oh,
out
yeah.
with a bang, my friend.
All right, so I think we had a pretty good show today. I was very well entertained. I don't know if you guys were. Stick around. There's always going to be more. It seems like when you get all of us together, we have a good debate. But the lesson learned today is we got to come up with a solution to level out the playing fields with everybody else. Love one another. God bless all the firefighters, EMTs, military, everybody out there doing services. It sounds like everybody's getting together and helping each other out at the hurricanes and wildfires. Just remember, we don't do it just for us and our family. We do it for you guys.
Amen to that. That is a full page. Let me tell you something. We are here on Frontline. We are doing this because you guys need someone in your corner. It's a heavy load we bear, but you guys need to know someone's in your corner. And we're here Wednesday and Saturday giving you what you need to help make trucking great again. Be sure and check with us this coming Wednesday when, just like clockwork, we'll be here telling you how to make trucking great again. Till then, remember, guys, it's you, it's the passion that makes you different. Till next time, keep it real, and by all means, keep it rolling.